Hey there, fellow travelers, Mark.
And Jocelyn with Wolters World.
And today we're very lucky to have our friends Eliz and Derek from Means to Travel to talk to us about
traveling to the UK. They are doing a little bit of international traveling, and while we've done quite a bit of domestic travel, we're gonna pose some questions to see how things are going over there.
Yeah, so Eliz and Derek, why don't you introduce yourself and basically tell us why are you going? What brought you to travel again?
Thanks, Mark and Jocelyn, so much for having us. As you both know, we are humongous fans of the channel, and we just love the community of fellow travelers that Wolters World has built over the past many, many years on YouTube. I'm Eliz.
And I'm Derek.
And we're a married couple behind Means to Travel, and we have just finished our 14-day quarantine here in southern England. We're actually on the south coast in the city of Portsmouth. And we're just really thrilled to be traveling again in 2020.
Yeah, so, we just got out of the house yesterday for the first time. We were kind of climbing up the walls a little bit in quarantine, but got around, walked a bunch yesterday, and we're excited to go to London tomorrow, actually, for a long weekend, which we're pretty stoked about.
So what got you to go out again and kind of like,
Yeah, why go to the UK? or what got you about traveling again?
Yeah, so Mark and Jocelyn, as I'm sure you experienced and a lot of the community has experienced, for travelers, 2020 has been a bit of a rough year, to say the least. And especially for those of us who are used to international travel and love to, go out, explore, and meet new cultures. For those of us that are like that and get energized by that, 2020 has been really, really rough. We went from around the world 3.5 times in 2019 to a cold stop in March when we came back from Amsterdam, right when kind of all the borders were shutting down internationally. So, as we were kind of getting used to this new normal in the United States, we started thinking about if there was any way to kind of change the narrative, change what we were doing. And we really were looking at a lot of different travel opportunities, especially domestically. As you guys know, we were looking at a bunch of different road trip opportunities. But international travel is not dead to Americans. It's actually something that we can still do if you go to the right places. And one of the places that we could go to was the United Kingdom, which is super exciting because the United Kingdom's so big and there's a lot to do here. So we looked at what it would take to get here, and we kind of took a drastic measure. We put our house up for rent for a year and decided to, hit the road again. So we're here for the next 3 months at least as we, explore around.
Yeah, and as an added bonus to that, we are hoping to be able to at least show other travelers how you can travel safely and responsibly at this time.
I think it's really cool that you guys are out, exploring and then sending that information back out into the world for the rest of us too. Thanks for that.
Yeah, that is cool. And I guess my question is like, how are the airports? Was it the usual hustle bustle or actually one thing that got me is like customs. Like, how
is it different? What's it like?
Yeah,
right?
are you going through and getting your stamps, or is it that like electronic stuff or whatever? So, what's your experience? Yeah, what's your experience been?
So all of the domestic airports, I would say, were pretty easy to navigate and manageable. The only exception really was our first leg of our flight from Cincinnati to Dallas. That flight was pretty full, so it was more difficult to socially distance. Especially,
domestic first class was 100% full.
Yeah. But then once we got to Dallas, like the lounges were completely empty, and then on our flight to the UK, it was very empty as well. And then once you got into that customs area, it was just that bioscan at the, the e-passport gates where you don't have to talk to anybody. So because we filled out our UK entrance forms within 48 hours before arriving, which is mandatory, we didn't have to talk to a soul. It was really easy.
So that's cool. Good to know that it's the kind of self-kiosk check-in kind of thing. Yeah, I remember when I get those, I was always upset. I'm like, I don't get a stamp. They know I'm here, but my passport doesn't know. So that was one thing. So that's cool. So another thing I think I want to ask is, like, what about your accommodation? Like, how did you decide where to stay? Is it like you choose, or does the government put you someplace? What's been your experience?
Yeah, and if you get to choose, what are you going to choose? Like, how do you narrow that down? So, tell us about that.
Yeah, so I mean, in the UK, there's not a hard and fast rule on where you have to quarantine when you get here. So, as international travelers, it's kind of your pick of the litter on where you want to spend that time. As we mentioned earlier, we're in the southern city of Portsmouth. We wanted to, find a place that we didn't mind spending about a month in, and we found it here, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, what's really great about this particular Airbnb is because we cannot leave the property at all. The rules here in England they use the word quarantine in a way that actually implies really strict self-isolation rules. So you cannot leave the property for 2 weeks, even to like grocery shop or take a walk. So our Airbnb that we chose was going to be really important, and that we have specific amenities that, we need for those 2 weeks. So this one in particular, especially since we couldn't go for a walk to get some fresh air, we made it very essential that we were going to have a back patio space that, of course, is private. So at least over the past 2 weeks, we've been able to get some fresh air. We have laundry. We have a full kitchen. So it's been fine.
Yeah.
That's cool you got the garden. I mean, that's a lifesaver right there.
Yeah, having fresh air is definitely a necessity in life, in my opinion. So you kind of mentioned briefly about food. So how does that work? If you're not able to leave, how are you getting food, and what was that experience like for y'all?
Yeah, and as Eliz was saying, the rules, the quarantine rules here in the UK are pretty strict and pretty stringent. So, as she said, we're not allowed to leave the house, so that means you can't just go and get some groceries. And the good thing is that the UK has a pretty good system around, online grocery ordering and delivery services. A lot of that has expanded quite a bit actually since the pandemic hit, so that people have a socially distanced way to get their necessities. And so what we actually did is we had food delivered the day after we arrived. We didn't want it here the day we got here because, you don't want to not be here for the food delivery.
Just in case there were delays or something.
Yeah, if there's delays in a flight or whatever. So, so we just ended up doing like takeout when we first got here. I got some Indian food. She got some sushi. It was kind of fun. Little treat. And then, so our food delivery came and we ordered a ton of stuff. And we've been cooking 3 meals a day at home since then.
So cooking when we're abroad is something that I really love, and I'm glad that you guys are like getting to do it. I know you're getting to do every single meal, but it is pretty cool that you guys have that ability to do that easily.
And lots of spices. If you go on their YouTube channel, you'll see Eliz and her spice collection in the UK is pretty funny.
She and I are the same that way. So how did you get to your accommodations? Public transport. Like I'm assuming that with the quarantine restrictions, you have some hurdles to jump through that. So tell us about that.
So the rule in the UK is that you need to go straight to your accommodation as soon as you arrive in the UK. So as soon as you exit the airport, basically. And there's extra guidance that you should not take public transit as much as possible, if at all possible. So we took that to heart, of course, and we then decided that we were going to hire a driver that picked us up at the airport and took us to our Airbnb. So for us, as 2 people, that cost around £100. And it was definitely, in our opinion, a very safe option. The driver was wearing a mask, and we, of course, were wearing our masks. And we were able to have him kind of holding a sign with our names on it as soon as we arrived, and took us directly to the car. The car took us to our Airbnb, and we immediately checked in and then went into quarantine. So it was a pretty easy option, and definitely recommend it.
Well, that was really cool. They got it set up, the driver kind of thing. I mean, I think that's what we would do if we could do something like that, just to get that set up. And good to know about not doing the public transportation. That's very true.
Yeah, because renting a car at that point would be sort of silly because it would just sit there for 2 weeks, and that's an expense.
Yeah, let's throw away 500 pounds to look at the car through the window.
Just look out through the window, right?
How are you not going crazy? I mean, I remember when we first went on quarantine, the first couple of weeks we were worried, and then now it's like I want to do stuff, and like, how are you staying sane? I'm guessing you're making friends or something with the grass outside. I don't know. I don't know. Like, how are you staying sane?
Yeah, so we have been working so hard on all of this video and photography content throughout quarantine that it has kept us incredibly busy.
Yeah, and that's kind of my fault. I foolishly made a promise to our subscribers on our live stream that we were going to put out a series of videos called the 14 Days of Quarantine. And, luckily we were able to do it. We hit it. We put out 14 videos in 14 days, but it was a whole heck of a lot of work for us.
Yeah, definitely a lot more work than we anticipated.
Yeah.
So you guys have really stayed busy, and I'm looking forward to all the content that you're putting out. I've seen some of it already, and I'm looking forward to what's coming. So what are your plans for the UK? What's next on the list now that you're able to actually leave your apartment?
So we have needed to stay incredibly flexible when it comes to our plans, which is different than what we're used to. But even since we've landed here in the UK, things have been kind of changing.
Yep.
New local regulations have been put in place for different local lockdowns. As of right now, none of the regulations that have been implemented in the country directly affect what we want to do. So I'll let Derek just quickly jump in about what we're planning.
Yeah, so, when we came here, we had an idea that we wanted to hit all 4 of the countries that make up the United Kingdom. So England, Wales, Northern Ireland, and Scotland. So like we had said earlier, we're heading to London to pick up a rental car this weekend, at which point we hope to kind of turn this into a little bit of an epic road trip around the United Kingdom. We're going to start off, once we leave Portsmouth, by going to Cornwall, and they have a place there called Land's End, which is technically like the furthest southwest you can get in the island. And then we want to head up towards Scotland, which is home to John O'Groats, which is considered the northeasternmost part. So if you go from one end to the other, you're kind of an end-to-ender, which is kind of fun. And you would have gone, you would have gone about 850 miles. Which from United States standpoint isn't a huge road trip, but it's about as good as you can get here, so we're excited to do that. And along the way hit a bunch of highlights like the Lake District and a bunch of other places that we hope to explore, get some good hiking in before heading around Scotland, over to Northern Ireland like Belfast, and then into hopefully Wales.
That sounds like a heck of a road trip, and one that I am somewhat jealous of, because actually part of that I was supposed to do on my girls' trip that got canceled earlier this year. So sad that I'm not able to share some of those experiences with y'all, but I look forward to following along on your channel. Speaking of that.
Yeah, and please tell everybody how they can get a hold of you, YouTube, Instagram, all kinds of things. You notice I put them down below, so you can have it there, and you can look in the links below. We have links to all their channels, but I'll let them do their spiel.
Yeah, thanks so much, Mark. People can find us here on YouTube at the Means to Travel channel, where we're going to be posting weekly, if not more than weekly, videos as we're here in the UK and beyond after that. And you can also, if you're on Instagram, find us there. We're pretty active there too. I'm at Means to Travel, and
I'm Mr. Means to Travel. And what I would say is that if you want to kind of keep up with us more real time, definitely check us out on Instagram, because that's where we will kind of be posting where we are and what we're doing as we do it.
in the Instagram stories especially.
Yep.
Thanks again.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you guys again for joining us and being part of this, and just being part of our little travel world on Wolters World. You guys really add a lot to it, and I appreciate your friendship and all your travel knowledge. And
make sure you go to their channel. You'll see Eliz's face somewhere around here in a little circle. Click on that to go to her channel and subscribe. They've got really good videos to help you out. A lot of professional travel videos, stuff like that, to really help business professionals going around, but also other tips as well.
They're just kind, good people.
Yeah, they're good people.
Yeah,
they're good people, and they like to taunt us with the Tannat wine that they could get in Chicago that we couldn't get. So I hope you all are doing great. Thanks, Eliz and Derek. Thank you everybody for watching, and wish y'all the best.
Bye.
Bye.